What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the AF Minicast. I'm the Graphic Gangster. Small Arms Danny. The commish, Tyler Treadway. And from the kitchen table, say with me, Mr. Cory G.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Black and yellow. I like this, Danny.
Banger intro.
I'm repping.
Good
This
pick,
one.
good pick.
It's one of my favorite sweatshirts of all time, too, with the sleeve hits. Black and yellow represent Pittsburgh. What's good? Your boy Cory G. Minicast. All the real ones know. I want to shout out Cole. I want to shout out Danny and Treadway over there and Kyle behind the camera for staying consistent with the minicast. I'm going to shout out my fucking self, too. Yeah. I showed up today. I'm ready to do some things. What's up, Danny?
I love the personal shout out.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to dive straight into today's topic. So we're going to turn it back to MusclePharm days.
Mm-hmm.
So if people know your story, if they don't know your story, you started in the trailer. You went in the coal mine to save up to start your own personal training studio in Columbus, Ohio. And then it kind of snowballed from there. So having that transition was like super interesting, super inspiring to all of us, following it on Twitter and beyond. So I came across an old article in the archives on CoryGFitness.com.
Sweet.
So this one is called The 3 Marketing Lessons That Built a $100 Million Brand. So there's 3 we could talk for days on all of this stuff, but we'll distill it down to 3 points. So number 1 is find your UFC. So so like kind of going back to the article itself.
Yeah, I remember writing this.
You do? Yeah. So
once you say the points, it'll come back.
Yeah, so obviously the timing with that was
So
absolutely crazy, unbelievable, with UFC being on Spike TV, which is amazing if you're old enough, you know. And you were getting all this crazy placement on the mat, on the trunks, on pretty much anything. So why don't we talk about the UFC, how that even came to be? Was that towards the beginning of MusclePharm? Where did that start?
Started sponsoring UFC 96. Which was actually here in Columbus, Ohio. So Rampage was on the card, which I did not know at the time. Shane Carwin was our first sponsorship. Could double check my facts on UFC 96, but I'm pretty sure it's it. It was the bad logo, though. The one that had like white in it. You couldn't even really see it on the trunks, to be honest. But it was one of those things where it was like, oh, shit, okay. We can even get access to something like this, right? The second major one I remember was Mark Coleman's final UFC card, and we sponsored his shirt, which I'm pretty sure I still have at my house, and it said Mark the Hammer Coleman, had a big MusclePharm hit on it. It was super cool. But here's what's funny. Brad was into the sport. I had never watched it in my entire life and didn't even understand jiu-jitsu, wasn't into wrestling. I'm more versed in all this stuff because it was part of my job to watch the UFC every weekend for years, right? But I got to tell you, Brad just knew, back to your point, find your UFC. He knew the timing and the attention was priced right. Back to what Gary Vee talks about a lot. Like, he talks about being on the front side of the opportunities, like being in the early TikTok. That was like TikTok for us, essentially, right? That no one else saw the value. I looked at it like this. Spike TV was free. The fights were free. And you had all these college people watching it. And if I would spend $5,000 to $10,000 on somebody's butt placement where the logo's this big. And, dude, I remember I told Brad, I'm like, I'm going to spend, if I can get it for like $7,500, I think it was each, we'll spend $15,000 and we'll have the main event. Both guys are sponsored by us. Right, and that's when we had the logos. This was well into the process, but still early enough where it was kind of proven to be true. It went 5 rounds. 5 rounds, I think, is right when they moved to 5 rounds or something. Anyway, I figured it out. I was on TV for 25 minutes. It was insane. It was like having a commercial for a half hour where you had a Friday night captivated audience of the exact age demo that I needed to know. And then when they were trying to figure out, well, what the fuck is this? Whether they went to Twitter, which was hot, or just on bodybuilding.com or whatever it was, it just all kind of hit this like crazy timing where I think just the proper support and content and understanding, distribution, and the launching point all hit at the same time. And once I understood that, then I essentially like forced myself to love the sport, right? And I learned to love it after I started learning about jiu-jitsu, understanding more of the rules. But yeah, I wasn't even a UFC fan. And so it's kind of funny, like I can't really take a ton of credit for the idea because it definitely wasn't mine. But the execution of it on a regular basis, I mean, it was one of my main jobs besides meeting with like GNC, Vitamin Shop, and like major vendors, was making sure so-and-so's Brazilian cousin was going to get him the fucking logo to make sure it was on. And then the amount of times, I'm telling you, that I had deals that were unpaid yet, they were paid after I actually saw it, that they would come out and have a whole different logo on, not even have my logo on. I'd tell the investors, hey, we got 6 guys on this card, and like 3 of them would show up with what they're supposed to. Back in the day, they used to handle their logos. One time, Cowboy fucking Cerrone showed up and had a pink MP on. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, but he had like pink and black trunks, so he just made everything or something like that. So there was just like a host of things like that would happen. But I would say, like, when we understood, kind of back to what Gary talks about, we were hacking attention at the age demo at a scale worldwide that we didn't realize, like, how great it was, until I went on vacation with Dana and the Fertitas down in Cabo, and it was like just the main sponsors. This is when we were at the WEC, not even at the UFC yet. So BSN had the main ring. We were in the WEC before they merged, and shit was hilarious, right? First off, we go out to the fights, and it's Rampage Rashad. Amazing fight. I got 8 guys on the card or 10 guys on the card. We're everywhere. I'm pretty sure, and you guys could check this, but this was the Mike Russo kind of like close his eyes and knock out the dude that was sponsored by Muscle Tech, who was a fucking unit. Mike Russo probably had 50% body fat. When he would throw a punch, his love handles would shake. Joe Rogan said on the thing, this looks like a before and after picture. And Mike Russo knocked this guy fucking stiff. And I looked like a fucking hero. I got totally lucky, and I don't think I ever looked at his picture online. I was a fucking idiot. It was totally by mistake. Anyway, you guys should look it up. It's hilarious. Anyway, so he goes, Joe Rogan says, this is like a before and after. This guy looks like a fucking Greek god. He like goes like this, and then boom, and the dude just goes stiff and falls and knocks him out. And then he walks down, he like love taps him a couple times, and he wins the fucking fight. And I'm like in my seat. I'm like sinking in my seat as everybody's, gee, why the fuck you sponsor this guy? Like, I'm getting hammered, dude. And then anyway, it turned out good. But right after that, they had set up where they were like, you're done with the fight. I don't know, in Vegas time, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning. They had a 747 or something. It was a big ass plane. They put like fucking 80 of us on it for vacation and just took us. And like, I had no clue where we were fucking going. We knew we were going to Mexico. We get to Mexico. They whisk us away, and like we go to this resort. It looks dope, but I don't really know till the sunlight comes up. Sunlight comes up, and this place is fucking unbelievable. And you wake up, and it was just like basically the 80 people that went with us and like a few other people. But like, I mean, Uriah Faber was there, Rashad. Trying to think who else, like fighter wise. There was a bunch of fighters there. But we go to the first. We had to have a meeting so they could make the tax deductible, right? Because they spent I don't know how many $1 million on this thing. So it's literally like, I don't even think there was more than 12 people in this meeting. It's like the tap out guys, like us, BSN. It's like, yeah, like pretty much Harley Davidson. And they got like one little like kind of like board that he's writing on, like a whiteboard. And he's got one little projector. And they just have a world on it. And they just have the UFC octagon in the middle. And he goes, here's my presentation. So we can do what we're supposed to do, and everybody can go back to fucking drinking beer or whatever. He's like, we're going to be in every major country and every model. And if you just follow us around the world, you can find distribution in every one. And we have TV deals with Brazil, with their main TV. It wasn't on pay-per-view there. It was like on their like NBC. Mm-hmm. He's like, you could sell in Brazil, Portugal. Like he just said it. He's like, literally, that's the presentation. We are taking over the fucking world. And if you want to be part of it, basically keep paying us and come for the ride. And then, I don't know, 10 minutes into the meeting, fucking Uriah Faber walks in with no shirt on, like he's in the wrong place. And he's like, and then one of the dudes is like, where's the bodybuilding show? Literally, and somebody always has something to say like that. But it was just like so informal, but formal for the level that it was at. And it's exactly what we did because he knew it and he still knows it. You watch the way he's moving now. It's like this dude just literally took over the planet with it. But I got to see it real time, relatively early stage, and he was just fucking right. And so, we just kept like, they said, pay this and do this. We just kept doing it. I mean, that's it until we like couldn't afford to pay it anymore, basically.
So, yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable story and everything like that. So how does someone, on the street or a kid coming up, how do they apply, finding that unique marketing niche?
So the key is that I think you got to look for where is, like, there was not a lot of resistance then either. Like, you didn't have to pay the tax to the UFC. Like, down the road, you had to pay so much just to even play that game. But at that time, you could just go straight to the fighter and they let you on. So, I mean, you could get on for $1,500 sometimes, right? So, like, I think that some of these, like, big opportunity things kind of you have to kind of understand, wait, this has maybe more legs than a lot of people understand. The entry point's not that crazy, so it's worth investigating. And then be willing to lose or just invest a few to kind of see what happens. And that's exactly what we did. And then I started realizing that we were essentially spending money to make our company famous. Because if you're on TV or you're on a major podcast or show on a regular basis, you're essentially making the brand famous. And so we started to realize now we're going to have real notoriety. Then how do we capture, that's the funnel, right? The top of the funnel. Then how do we like nurture that? And I think that that's when I started offering the value on Twitter, all the stuff at bodybuilding.com, things we were doing with Inside the Vendors. That's when I think the thing caught some crazy steam, is because we had to mix of both. So I would look at in your marketplace, whether it's your local, like I would look at, this is a good example. The amount of kids that are playing Little League Baseball in a town like this and softball is crazy. We have 5 teams probably just in like the Granville Little League, like they're just from here. Not to mention, if I owned a Dairy Dream here, I would have a monopoly on every team that ever freaked. Because, dude, you want every one of them coming. Like, and you can sponsor a team for $300. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's some things like that probably in your local community that will have way more pop than you realize. But you have to kind of just pay attention of how people were operating and moving. And, like I said, Brad just understood he was watching the fights and then realized that it didn't cost that much. And if you would have looked at any of the other opportunities for us to spend on marketing, none of them matched. And even though this was untraditional, it was worth trying to see. And then we were like, oh, this is a monster.
Mm-hmm. So real quick on Brad, because we keep saying the name Brad. So why don't you just tell everyone who Brad is?
Yeah, Brad Pyatt is the co-founder of MusclePharm. He's the one that originally kind of had the idea, and then I ran into it, and then we co-founded it together in 2008. Brad's a genius marketer, for sure. I mean, he just is. Like, I'll only talk about good things, but he was a genius marketer.
We'll leave
keep
it there.
Moving. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll put a pin in number 1. So number 2, this one's going to be all around customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So this point is treat people like it's 1950. So all of us have our own entry points with you on Twitter, and our own interactions. But I think obviously what kind of set yourself apart, which, you talked about like going to the Arnold and you would go to BSN and then you go to the next one. You were basically selling and pitching yourself to be the natural fitness guy.
100%.
So first of all, I want you to like talk about that process and like, were you the personal trainer when you were doing this?
Mm-hmm.
How were you approaching them? What were they saying back to you?
Yeah.
And then obviously once you got to MusclePharm, you completely separated yourself because nobody's expecting the president of the company to respond to your personal message and give you actual advice.
Or look the way I was looking and keep the way I was keeping. Yeah, that was like, so, a lot of people will kind of evaluate their, I think, career year to year. So maybe January to January. Mine was always March to March because each Arnold would come around. And for you guys who don't know, I'm talking about the Arnold Sports Classic is like a big fitness trade show. The biggest one, it happens to be here. So ironically, I could just drive to it, which was nice. And at that time, because magazines was still a thing, way before the internet kind of overpowered it, I could walk up to Men's Fitness, Men's Health, Muscle and Fitness, Physical. Like literally, there'd be like 6 magazine stands and every supplement company. And so I remember, because I just drove by it the other day in Gahanna. I think the studio is still there. It's called like Studio 187. It's a dude who does like senior pictures. I paid him $250 to do fitness pictures for me. And he was like, I've never even done this before. I'm like, I just need good lighting. I'm going to come shredded. Let's figure it out. And paid him $250 just so I had pictures to hand to these guys. And I printed them off of my computer. I went with like literally a stapled group of pictures. And I just really believed that the market needed I guess like somebody that you could identify with, that felt like it was like your dude at the gym, that was drug free, that wasn't super imposing, that worked hard. Like I just felt like what I was representing was needed in the marketplace, because everybody was 220, shredded, on drugs, or 275. None of it was attainable at that point. Like even the 70s guys, most people thought they could attain it, even though they probably couldn't. The stuff that's going on now, fuck. Like you look at it and be like, there's no way I can look like that, right? And I thought that, but I thought like there was a group of people that I could represent that, you know, could aspire to potentially look at what I was accomplishing. And so I just kept pitching that. Rich Gaspari paid me to work at his booth for a while at the Arnold. I would sell programs out front. I went and gave myself to magazines, like gave my little information to magazines probably, let's see, I started going to Arnold in 2000. I probably started doing that thing like 2004, probably 4 years prior to starting MP. And even then, I think the first cover didn't come till like 10. So probably like 6 or 7 years of like kind of beating on that door of just like trying to get somebody to be like, yeah, you know, I think early part of CrossFit helped, because it started to make like I think the overall look of, you know, what people were starting to aspire to look like was more like me, which was good, not like these mass monsters. But yeah, I just believed that there was an opportunity there, and I really believed it wholeheartedly. Every day when I woke up, every day when I went to bed. And so when I had a chance to be in front of these people, I just told them like, you guys are slipping. Like I'm the guy that can blow this whole thing up, and I know the value I have. I just needed, like, it comes back to that. You're knocking on the door, no one's answering. So you just got to kind of build your own house. And that's what I had to do. But yeah, it was discouraging from time to time. It's still discouraging. There's people that have way less information and understanding, can jump on a bunch of drugs, quote unquote, have a lot more results, but they're not real. They're fake by what they're taking. And so the industry's never really changed. It's always been this way. So I think the same thing I believed then is the same thing I believe now. I'm offering a consistent, different amount of value that's undeniably true, and that is here today, tomorrow, and the next day. And somebody can aspire to hopefully do what I do if they want to change. I don't think it's really changed. I think I got hot for a minute. The real ones know, and I'm going to get hot again. So you want to be part of the second hot? Come on in.
All right. Let's can we talk about like when did like bodybuilding.com come into the picture? So like for those people out there that don't know what kind of trainers and stuff that you did, like the Get Swole, the Busy Diet.
Busy Diet, Get Swole, Arnold Blueprint to cut and mass, and then squat every day. So you had Busy Diet 21 day, which is what I kind of remade lately. Get Swole 5 different months, which is now the Get Stacked, which is 137 months, which I told Beaker that today. He was cracking up. He's like, holy shit, G, that's 10 years. I'm like, yeah. Then Arnold Blueprint to cut first, then mass. So those were each one trainer, and then squat every day. So 5 different video trainers that had full-blown programs, nutrition, all that. It amassed hundreds of millions of views, if not north of that, over the period of time. I mean, I looked at, I think the Arnold Blueprint video had 80 million views last time I looked at it, which is crazy. It's still up there. So yeah, I mean, the amount of content that I helped write, create, produce, the ideas for it had an astronomical reach, which I'm super proud of still to this day. I have those movie posters. They made me movie posters for all of those. They're in my basement in my gym. I look at them almost every day when I go down there. I'm super proud of it because I knew when I was doing those, it's exactly what I should be doing. It's all the times I competed. It's all the times I was dieting and I didn't want to. It's all the times I was forcing myself to try new protocols. It was all getting me prepared for that exact moment.
That's exactly where I was going with this. It's like all the, the body of work, or like, because one thing I was going to have you talk about with the Arnold stuff is the Arnold meeting.
Arnold what?
The Arnold meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because like that's like an all-timer. That's probably one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, just all of those things. Like that's what it goes to show. Like, right now we're dealing with some, adversity and manufacturing and different things, and like just like the market's real noisy. But it's like all of those things you go through, and when you have to reimagine things, and you have to still get up and not everybody's always in the greatest mood when we're dealing with a bunch of dumb shit. But it's like if you still ultimately believe that this is what you're supposed to be doing, you can continue to get better. You're doing it all with a chance for when all of those kind of moons align. Now, what I've got to share with you just in today is how a few of those had aligned, and I was ready for them. And so I would argue that in between when that happens, you're preparing for the next time for it to happen. And I think, like, I told this to Tyler Sealover the other day. I said, I virtually think it's impossible for us to continue to build what we're building and not hit an inflection point where something takes off, whether it's something on the personal side takes off and then it highlights the company, or the company takes off and it highlights what we're doing, whatever. Something has to, because it's virtually impossible to be this consistent, this detailed, this focused, and it not happen. It's never not happened to me. It's just the truth. At every point in my life where I've continued to go through these ups and downs, and I've dug in, it's got over the top because I didn't give up. I didn't say I didn't want to give up, because I clearly have multiple times, but I just am not willing to. And so, like, you have to think that you're preparing all that time so when you meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can knock it out of the park like I did. So when you get a chance to interview Tiger Woods, you're not even nervous. So when you get a chance to meet the CEO of GNC, you can tell him, I should be on the wall here. I know if I'm on the wall, I'm not coming down. That's exactly what I told him. We're doing 8 million. I think we'll do 30 million. Like, he's looking at me like, oh, you think that's true? I know it's true. Like, and so when you work all that time, you're working for those type of opportunities. But there's a list this long of those type of things that have happened in my life. And if I was working in between those moments to get ready for them, that's what they're there for. So it's like, you have to think that, once again, like you hear you don't got to get ready when you stay ready. You might not be 100% all the time, but if your expectation of that 85 to 90 is like how you operate, you just operate that long enough, it's impossible for you not to get a version of what you want.
So like on like a tactical level, like let's say you're in the gym, you're training the guys at 3:30 or whatever. Like, what's your elevator pitch to them to try? Because like, especially in this day and age, it's hard to sell that, and we've talked about that all the time. Like putting in the hours, the time, the work, all that stuff.
Oh, I think my pitch here is easy, because because I don't try to get everybody. So the people that are coming in the door, and I would argue that like the hardcore ones that have stayed around here, like they know what time it is, because I'm not telling them some hack. Like if people want to know really how to get there, I'm going to show them. Now, whether they want to sign up for that or not, that's up to them. You know what I mean? It's really not for, like, old school gym's not for everybody. Max Effort, Cory Fitness not for everybody. It is for, anybody, but it's just not for everybody. And so like, I don't know. I started to think about this because I want to help as many people as possible, but my mouthpiece or the things that I'm articulating isn't how everybody wants to receive it, because they might just not be at the point of their life where they're willing to do what's required. So my pitch out here is like, you come here on a regular basis, it's impossible not to get better. You can count on me, or when I'm not here, it's one that I said, it's Cole or Treadway. Somebody will be here that knows what they're doing. And here's what I say. Think about this. Most people go to a gym where probably 90% of people don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? And I'm not faulting them, because they're there trying. And in our gym, everyone knows what they're doing. And it's because of the instruction. It's because of the culture. It's because of the expectation. So yeah, you might have a younger kid fucking off every now and again, but that's like part of like why we're here, to make sure people don't do dumb shit, right? But when you look around and you're like, oh wait, every one of those exercises is being done right. Oh wait, people aren't on their phones. The music is just in the gym. Like, you start to recognize that, like, this is where I want to be. And see, that's what people don't understand about this culture, and even in the local market don't understand. Like, they don't understand why the kids don't want to leave here, why they want to be here, why they're staying extra, why the workouts is like dragging on, why they want to play basketball after. It's because they know they're going to be pushed just the right amount, but supported, but they believe that if they do what they do here, they're going to get what they want. And that's the truth, because we're leading them that way because we're getting what we want, right? And so I think that that's like the bigger overarching thing is like, if the true leadership is displaying what is needed and is getting that result, how do you not listen to them? I mean, Nate Ebner sat right in that chair where Cole's at and said, if Tom Brady and Bill Belichick already got 7 rings and they're the first people in and the last person out, what the fuck are we doing? Where's the expectation? Now, if you don't want to be a champion, maybe you don't want to operate that way. But he's like, they set the tone the whole 10 years or 8 years he was there. You just follow suit. And I think that that's like what in our own way, you know, we're trying to show is championship behavior and expectation. I know Cole has to leave soon. Dan, you got anything else?
No, that was literally a perfect.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Dude, go.
All right, so you went through kind of like all of the career highs that you had, and like we haven't experienced what it's like to get a private trip with the UFC dudes to Mexico. But during that time, around that same time, we all had experiences with you.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, there were 2 different situations where I was in college and I followed you. I would tweet at you all the time, just random shit, and you would always answer. And the first time I ever met you, I walked into the Arnold. Me and my roommate from college got to the Arnold. We were the first ones there, and I walked up and you were just standing by yourself. And I was like, holy shit, that's Cory Gregory. And we like walk up and you were like the most authentic dude I've ever met. And then the second time was at the Arnold, and I waited in the MusclePharm line, and you hadn't got there yet. And my buddy was like, all right, let's go walk around. We'll come back later. And we came back, and you and Rachel were walking in, and I was like, holy shit, it's Cory Gregory. And I was like, hey, Cory, like, yo, we were waiting in line, and you were like, yo, just follow us. And I was like, all right. So you took my roommate and I, it was you and Rachel, and you walked us into the back of the MusclePharm booth, and you spent a few minutes with us, which was really cool because you didn't know me at the time.
Yeah.
So how were you able to keep that level of authenticity of being who you are through all of the highs and lows of what you experienced?
Well, I think like it comes back to even like how I first interacted with Cole, right? Is that I took the approach, like when shit started really blowing up, like it got to the point where when probably the Get Swole that was at its height, that's when I started getting noticed, when I was just like at the airport. Like because I was always flying because I was going to meet with people all the time, right? And so I had a lot of people come through like, yo, I'm on phase 2, whatever. And then with the Arnold, and it just kind of kept getting, and I was like, I remember thinking to myself, there was one time when I was younger, which is funny to even think about this right now. I remember I was like in probably like 9th grade. I was really feeling myself. I was dunking a basketball. I already had a little baby muscles. Girls hollering at me, but I was poor as a motherfucker, right? So I'm glad I didn't have money too. I might have never come back from that. But I just remember it was only for a short period of time, but people started to treat me a little bit different. And I was like, they don't fucking like me. It's too much. Because you got to remember, like, I try to be super humble, but I idolize Deion Sanders, Johnny Manziel. Like, I like outlandish people. I think it's because that's how I am. But I realized you can't really be that way, right? So I think I got a dose of that when I started having success on what I was putting work in. It didn't end up where I was like getting recruited for anything or whatever, but I like felt different. And I was like, you got to stay humble so you can hopefully maybe achieve both. That I can get the accolades or maybe the progress in my life that I want, but I don't lose sight of like just being a good dude. And it doesn't, there's a lot of people that think other things about me, but they probably don't even really know me, right? But the reality is, I just thought the way I got here is because if somebody came in my gym and asked a question, I would answer it thoroughly. And And I was like, as social media started really growing, I was like, if I can hold that, which is really hard, because at some point, dude, my mentions were wild when the algorithm was like what it was, right? It was like, if I can spend the time, then I think I can create a relationship that's completely different than everyone else. And I just thought, like, I also remember hearing, it was either Kobe or Michael talking about how I think it was Michael, that somebody probably saved up all year to have that seat that was in the nosebleeds to see them play that night, and then they're taking a just not play night, like, or an injured reserve, whatever. And I just remember thinking that could happen at the Arnold. Somebody might have drove. They might be from a trailer. They might be the same situation. They came all the way to see me. I can't big time them. Like, I'm not that big. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think I just had like some talks with myself. Right. I experienced it young a little bit. Felt like I kind of shifted it. And then when shit really popped for me, I was like, I tried to double down on the other side of it. I mean, you can be very confident and still humble, because also I was poor. It could go back there. I mean, and it damn near did when we didn't end the way we, you know what I mean? So like, think about this. If I don't act that way, I guarantee the second business doesn't do as well as it did. I would almost put money on it for real. Like, if I don't have that relationship with you guys, you're not here. If I don't, like, Danny comes to the gym the first time, if I don't treat him the way I treated him, like, it just proved to be true that operating that way created a long game for me, because it's actually a relationship. Like, I even with this business with Max Effort, like, I like that we know most of our customers. I'm glad that we're doing the in-person events. It was a little out of my comfort zone at first because we've been in this internet world for so long, but I look forward to it. I think they need it. I think we need it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's where. But it came right when I started getting real confident. I think I went over the edge a little bit, and then I kind of reeled it back and saw that worked better. And that was like 9th, 10th grade. That's why Anna was yapping at me the other day. I'm like, bro, I was dunking a basketball when I was in 9th grade. He said, get out of here. Go ahead, Danny. Take us out.
All right, this has been the AF Minicast. I'm the Graphic Gangster. Small Arms Danny. The commish, Tyler Treadway. Mr. Cory G. See you next week.